guys, it's Ryan. Welcome back to another Saturday Sweets video. For those of you that don't know, I am a full-time working mom. I typically work outside the home, but currently, like so many of us, I am working in the home. I have an almost 7-month-old son. On these videos, you can find me baking, typically on the weekends when I can squeeze it in, but trying new recipes, some seasonal things, and just enjoying my time in the kitchen. Today I'm actually going to be baking a special birthday treat for my husband. I gave him a couple cookbooks and told him to pick out what he wanted for his birthday, and this is what he chose. Alright, so as I said, I let my husband choose what he wanted for his birthday this year, and here's what he picked. He chose these Boston cream cupcakes, which are out of this Martha Stewart Cupcakes cookbook. So today I'm going to go ahead and prepare the actual cake portion, the cake, and then tomorrow on his actual birthday I'll prepare the cream and the chocolate ganache. So here are the ingredients that you're going to need for the actual cupcakes. You're going to need some all-purpose flour, some salt and baking powder. Then you'll need sugar and 3 eggs. You will need 3/4 stick of butter and some milk. I happen to have whole milk on hand for another recipe, so I'm just going to go ahead and use that. And then you will need some vanilla. Alright, so let's go ahead and turn this into cupcakes. I will put a link to the book as well as the recipe in the description box below. Okay, so to start out these cupcakes, you are going to need to combine 1½ cups of all-purpose flour, 1½ teaspoons of baking powder, and 1/2 teaspoon salt in a large bowl, and then mix them together until they're all combined. You will then combine 1/2 cup of milk as well as 6 tablespoons of butter, which is 3/4 stick, in a saucepan and set it over low heat just until that butter is melted into the milk. In the meantime, you're going to want to, in a stand mixer with a whisk attachment, crack in 3 eggs and then combine that with 1 cup of sugar. You're going to want to whisk this until it's fluffy and pale yellow and thick enough to hold a ribbon on the surface for several seconds when the whisk is lifted. That'll take about 5 minutes. You'll then add your dry ingredients to this mixture. Keep whisking just until this is combined. Be careful not to overmix at this stage. While this is mixing, you're then going to go ahead and add that butter and milk mixture, which you had brought just to a boil. You want to do this in a steady stream so that everything can get combined and that you aren't going to cook those eggs and end up with scrambled eggs. Next, you're going to go ahead and beat in 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Once that's combined, then your actual batter mix is completed. Next, you're going to put the batter into prepared baking dishes. I just sprayed mine with Pam because I'm lazy. You certainly could butter and flour them. I think that's actually what the recipe says to do, but yeah, this worked just fine. They came out fine. You then want to fill these about half full is what the recipe said. I filled mine about half full and I thought they were actually a little short. I maybe would have gone 3/4 of the way full. You're then going to get these into an oven that's been preheated to 350 degrees. They'll cook for about 15 minutes. Certainly test them and see with a toothpick inserted in the center and see if it comes out clean to make sure they're done. The recipe does actually suggest that you flip your baking trays halfway so you get an even cooking, which I did do. These ended up getting, at the end of the cooking time, a little bit dark. I probably should have pulled them a couple minutes earlier. I was distracted and just didn't get to them in time. Because of that, I ended up pulling these out of the trays immediately after they came out of the oven because I didn't want any of the carryover cooking to make them even browner. If I could have, I would have let them cool for about 10 minutes before taking them out and putting them on the wire baking racks. I think I did have a little bit of an issue with sticking, and I think that was frankly because they hadn't cooled all the way yet. Hey guys, this is going to be the second part of those Boston cream pie cupcakes I started showing you yesterday. Today we're going to have to make the chocolate ganache for the top as well as the pastry cream that's going to go in the center. So let me go ahead and show you the rest of the recipes and then what ingredients you'll need to make these, and then I will show you putting them together. Okay, so for the pastry cream you will need whole milk, eggs, vanilla, cornstarch, a pinch of salt, and sugar. And then for the chocolate ganache, you will need semi-sweet chocolate, heavy whipping cream, and light corn syrup. Let's go ahead and turn these ingredients into pastry cream and a chocolate ganache. Okay, we're going to get started on the pastry cream first. For this, you're going to need 4 egg yolks. I find the easiest way to separate yolks from the whites of the eggs is to just put the egg in your hand and kind of let the whites fall through, and then the yolks will stay in the top of your hand and you can add them to a separate bowl. You're then going to want to whisk these egg yolks until they're smooth. In a saucepan on the stove, you're then going to combine 1/2 cup of sugar, 1/4 cup of cornstarch, and a pinch of salt with 2 cups of milk. You're going to want to stir that milk in a slow, steady stream and cook it until the mixture thickens and begins to bubble about 5 minutes. You're then going to want to use that milk mixture to temper your egg yolks. You're basically going to want to pour 1/3 of that milk mixture into the egg yolks in a steady stream and whisk constantly. Once you've done that, you can then return the entire mixture to the stove, again whisking constantly, and by doing it this way you should avoid scrambling your eggs. You should whisk this for about 2 to 4 minutes, and then the eggs will be cooked enough and you'll have pastry cream. As you can see here, it's gotten thick. Once that's done, you're going to want to remove it from the stove and then beat in your vanilla. Okay, we're then going to move on to making the chocolate ganache. For this, you're going to combine 2/3 cups heavy cream and 1 tablespoon of light corn syrup into a saucepan, and you're going to want to heat that. While that's heating, you're going to want to take 6 ounces of semi-sweet chocolate and break this up into smaller pieces. You're then going to put that into a bowl, and then you'll wait for the milk mixture to get hot, and then you'll add the milk mixture to the chocolate. You're going to want to let that stand for a while without stirring to let the chocolate begin to melt. The recipe then has really specific instructions about how you're supposed to kind of combine the hot milk and the chocolate. You know, you're supposed to start stirring from the center and then pull in chocolate from the outside. I frankly don't think that matters. I did follow the recipe, but I think you could have, after letting that stand, just stir this to combine and it would have been fine. Although having said that, this chocolate ganache turned out really well, so perhaps that was the magic, starting to stir from the center and then pulling more chocolate in as necessary. You are then finally going to start assembling these cupcakes. To do so, you're going to want to cut them in half and then spoon part of the pastry cream onto the open cupcake. You're then going to top it and then add some ganache to the top. I will tell you, I think the secret to this is not to overfill with pastry cream and not to put too much ganache on the top. Have a light hand with both, and I think these will turn out well. Now, my end review of these is they looked beautiful. Like, they couldn't have looked more like the photo in the recipe, which is sometimes hard to do. I don't know that I think they were the best
tasting. They were fine. They just weren't, out of this world. I think, as you can probably see from these photos, the actual cake was a little bit dry and kind of tough. So a good recipe probably, but not a great recipe, but it was certainly fun to try, and they certainly looked amazing. They win an award for the looks category.